Hello and welcome, and it's that of Crypto Day on the Julian date, year 2018, month 06, day number 3. And like always, everything is within your own risk, own reward. I'd like to welcome you to this channel. Okay, I'm going to start off, and this is an altcoin video. I'm going to start off with, I should probably reset the scale here. Start this off with 10x pay token. The volatility, like practically every single crypto gives you, is large when you go from the 238 handle up to the 168. That is better than a 6x gain from the lowest and highest points, with a lot of areas to trade along the ways back and forth, when you can see with these like little lines and such. And then you had this move, which was a low at about a little over 100, get up to close to 400. So well better than a 3x gain, and very easy to do better than a 2.5x gain in buying low, selling high. But as far as the market dynamics is concerned, it resisted below where it came from as far as any of these support levels, which would have been in between 45 and 59, and it still might do so. After all, it's still above this high. The more often you test an area, the more likely it is that it is taken out. You also got the failed move, fast move. So looking at this further, the original breakout from the last low in April had this situation. There was the attempt that ultimately failed, and this interesting spot. After several days going higher, and I don't know what fundamental news brought it to do such, or if there's any major pump and dumps that were going on. After all, that's the name of the game with some of these codes. But continuous sell-off. Very limited rally. Another decent size sell, and then doing all of this. Thus, this is day number 6 going sideways. When key levels are taken out, that can be an interesting move. So therefore, I would be expecting at least, and that's the key word is at least, a test of the previous low. But this thing could very easily lose 2, 3, 4, 5, 6x on any situation, because the failed breakout here has already had a fast move lower. But is the fast move over? Question mark. And I don't know the answer to that, but the more I'm seeing this, the more optimistic I am that the answer just might be yes. And I don't know what the probability for such is right now, but if you see rallies, then who knows? I mean, it's a possibility that you could get good gains by holding on from here, but that's definitely a risky play, holding on to codes when you see a spot like this. Now, in the earlier video this morning, on the Crypto Day morning, I mentioned I was going to be showing this, and generally speaking, the way I'm doing this is I'm just wanting to see how well I can overperform a hodling based market, and so far I've barely overperformed Bitcoin. If I didn't, I'd be barely underperforming it, so I'm barely overperforming it overall. 20% gain from the open is the highest this has been. It's almost been 2 months now. This is a very low volatile situation that when I think this thing gets going, and I don't know when it will, that I'm going to have some decent sized moves to the upside, because when the cryptos go, I think they are going to go. I just don't know when. Just don't know when yet. However, when I look at and this is multiple cryptos together, heavily weighted for Litecoin, but a several amount in there. And don't be surprised if you notice with a lot of altcoins that you see markets for altcoins topping somewhere near May 3rd, but having a nice little bottom near May 11th, bottoming it at May 15th, and now it looks like they might be starting to go back up again. Because for chart analysis, it's a break of this. But for a while here, and this is 3 ticks per day, that it was, oh my goodness, my portfolio is always the same. So I look at a number for what I have. I know exactly what to do, because it didn't matter if I was at the upper end or the lower end. I could pretty much play my portfolio the same. But when this goes up, that means if I have altcoins that are going sideways and I haven't been buying them, I'm going to buy it. If markets are going up and some coins are barely going up, then I'm not going to sell. And then if they're going down and there are altcoins that are going sideways or barely going down, I'm going to sell them. Because what's going to happen is, say one altcoin that was worth, say, 20 units, if the other ones are around the same and everything goes up, if they go up to 24, then this one's going to need to be bought and back up. But if they all go down from 20, say to 16, then this needs to be sold down. And generally speaking, it wouldn't be sold to that number, because if it went to, say, 20 and 16, the other ones would be bought up from like basically be buying them up at 16. So they'd be worth, like, say, maybe 18 or 17. Yeah. And then this one, of course, I would sell down to 18. So if it goes up to 24, I would sell the other ones from 24 down to like 22. And then the one at 20, I would buy up to 22. So if I was to buy a code up from 20 to 22, that means if I had 100 of them, I'd buy 10 more. And let's now move on to Poloniex' Ethereum against Bitcoin. I'm doing that because I'm going to be doing drawing tools, and whoever got the buy-in here got a pretty good deal. But let's talk about adjusting to the message of the market. Failed move, fast move. And when you see how this thing has been moving since primarily like the end of Thanksgiving US last year, since here, I mean, consistently straight down, consistently straight up, consistently straight down, consistently straight up. If this is a bullish correction, this has been long going sideways in here. And all the corrections have been like nothing. So this would be a pretty large size correction given what happened here, 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 and here. Now normally this could correct more. But when we look at this as it plays out, the 18 average in here was supported well, and the fact that most of the times it didn't even need to support there, it was basically supporting the 18 average of closes more than anything at that time. But since it broke this 18 lows, manages to establish a level of support which coincided with this level of resistance and support, you resist this for a few days. Failed move, fast move. When you see that one of your first steps is it has to break a key level of support, which was the case here. Of course, if you're talking about the opposite for a failed breakdown, or breakout rather, it's complete opposite for what I'm saying. So you're always able to build a square like this. And this is within, and it can be within, like you can do 2 periods. If it's a 1 tick lower, you're going to have to look at this multiple time frames to see the legitimacy, and in this case, legitimacy will come into place. It has to enter where it came from relatively quickly. Well, that's entering where it came from relatively quickly. And its current day right now has got a decent sized green candle up. It's doing so at the upper end from where it came from. So therefore, it's making a statement like this thing has the potential to make its next step, and that is start what the fast move higher would be. And it doesn't start until around here. It has to be a decent break above the 18 average of highs and the resistance from where it came from, which of course is where we're now. It also means because you've had a good gain, you are enabled a decent amount of price correction to enable this to be that of a successful one. In fact, you can talk about an inverted head and shoulders pattern at this stage just by looking at this, because we can see what would be the left shoulder here, the head, which of course is obviously going to be on that failed breakdown, and then a right shoulder. Well, this is where the neckline is, so if it pulls back to 75, see, that move is what makes an inverted head and shoulders pattern so great, in the sense that it had that move established needed from the failed breakdown lows to established resistance. And there's two ways of making that move happen bullishly, pretty much, and that is, or even three, that is your continued move higher, and you're definitely in line for that now. Today, moving into tomorrow and into Monday, Tuesday rather, this thing could have potential for a nice green up, and now you're talking about the one of either today or tomorrow would break this resistance, and you'd be talking about this being well above the 9 handle, or having a greater than a 10% push from here, and maybe even going to the 10 handle and maybe fourth day, or even doing it on the first, second, or third day. All those scenarios are in line for, it's a lot probable to happen now rather than it did back in here, or even in this day here on this correctionary move here. But it can always go sideways and just consolidate through time. But that states that a price correction lower, and if it does successfully maintain support, all the parlay situations that have to happen for an inverted. So you have to find support in the area of where it came from. Then you have to rally everything that it lost on this move for this point here. And that would take you to the neckline. And then if you can exceed such, then that would be the break of the inverted head and shoulders pattern. So it's good to see the dynamics for how they would work. So therefore, you just understand them a little bit better. So let's shorten this out, take a look at this time frame a bit further, but let's first place a horizontal ray to this level of support. We can see that it coincides here. This low is 7517, we'll call it. This low, 7502, that's a small pierce below. And of course we can see, without even having to put the number, that this is a pierce higher on the late April highs. Let's first take a look at this on the 400 minute. And this is pretty much what I don't need to see anymore. This gives me exactly what I'm looking for. So for the inverted head and shoulders, this would be the left shoulder. And then, of course, you can see the head, and then, of course, the move higher. So it broke through at a key established level in here. That means a lot of people who are long might be getting fearful and selling. There will be people entering short positions, which is pretty much the same sort of deal. And yet on that move, it rallies up to the key point. Might get a few more people that are like, okay, chance to get out at this level. Man, it was looking bad at 726. I can get out now at 750 or 748, whatever. Or like that's what I'd be looking for in a spot where if you wanted to short and you see it go down, wait for it to come back to where you came from. Maybe put your order there. So the wise guy or wise girl would have shorted, say, at 7484 and got the top. Seen the market go lower. Of course, you're not going to cover anything yet. You're expecting much lower moves. And then it comes back in here. But you know what, though? We got a matter of this high here. So having this in here is by no means bullish. But it could be. See, a rally to this point, going from this correctionary move down to this leg lower, because every time a leg lower is done, it's always got to come to the 18. Always. And it's designed to do such, basically. That's why I like this number area. If you use the 20, it'd pretty much do the same. But I've just always used the 18 since I've started, so that's what I'm going to stick using. People ask me all the time. And weighted, I explained on earlier video today why I like the weighted, so I'm not going to go over that. But, so when you get here, it's both bullish and bearish to have that move. On a bearish level, this is where you would resist. You had this red candle down in here. On a bearish level, maybe one would leave it at this point. But not quite so here. And then a move here and a hold gives you uptrend lines. The opportunity to bring the market lower was declined or not chosen within its situation. And it instead managed to barely get above this area that it had its quick, we'll call it a panic, high emotional move. Because the prices are moving so fast that people need to see it set. I mean, you need to see it settle, but a lot of these fast moves happen on those emotions. Now people have had time to digest the situation, and after doing so, you have a pattern of what I call strength amongst the 18. And within it, and it could have went in any single time. I would not have been surprised after this period, after any one of these periods, if a move like this were to take place. By no means. Because of what the market action is showing me. Of course, a failed breakdown fast move situation shows me that the market has successfully made it to the higher end to where it came from. But it's at a spot where you would have thought that it was going to stop going higher. And you know from this point that you got a correctionary point where if it's just time through here, you can go a little bit of short-term price movement through here. But if we're not going to get much of that, or you notice that the price is breaking out just barely above here from where it stands, it's very normal to have a fast move up to next key point. And the next key point happens to be where I drew this line. And of course it can resist up to here. And overall, as I've been mentioning within the Ethereum market, straight down, straight up, and this has been a little bit of a correction, so if it regains it, then I'm looking at this as just looking at failed move. Just fast move as far as probably just a lot of times even just re-entering this trend. That might be one of the objectives I'd be looking for, is to see if it's able to get anywhere near the support line for wherever this uptrend of this move happens to come across. This is going on as a long video. I just keep on talking. Spent a lot of time on Ethereum, more than I figured I would, but let's move on. And I'm going to finish this off with Dash. So it's basically a 3-coin video. I don't know which was the 10x, the Ethereum, and now Dash. This is one wicked sideways reversal. Earlier on, I was talking about this happy face formation coming through, but this thing just been phenomenally choppy. If you're playing the range, the play would be buy between the 36 handle up to about the 50 handle, which means now is okay. Sell moderate between around this lower line to about 70, and if then the upper range, which would be up to about 95, you would sell more aggressively. That's playing the range. The range, which has never been hit a second time, does have the previous level from the highs of over a year ago. When you have a spot like this, and I want to remove the lines, I'm not going to remove them. I'm just going to change the market. Because of this long sideways move, this is where the market came from, right in here. So a break of this range in here you would have to think that this has the potential to go as deep as the 17 handle if it breaks it below. It might be light and you only come back to where you come from, maybe 23 to 25. And then after that, that's the empty space. So buying around 30, well, just barely below that support level might be very risky. If this does manage to break this resistance, it hasn't done so yet, then it'd basically be completion of the bull flag. Follow the 18 moving average. Let's take a look at this on the weekly. So as it was playing before, it was choppily in here. It was in the sideways movement, but the rise occurred. 18 has this type of upward trend, but this downward move stops it. Basically becomes a more of a neutral 18 average in here. After this retest of previous area, it had a very sharp correction from what is now the only time this 18 average has declined in this type of trend. The previous week following this, it has broken down below the 18 lows. So there's definitely a lot of reason for concern looking at Dash's cross against Bitcoin, that this could have a pretty significant sell-off. Keyword is just concern, and the status is showing such. As I stated at the earlier part on the buy low, sell high, or definitely play in the range, it's a buy point because you can get easy As long as it's going to make another move up higher, and it's only had about 6 of them in this range, you can get moderate, decent gains of like 40, 50, 60, up to 100%. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.